Welcome.
Bonjour.
Vous écoutez le podcast Dirty Feet sur les ondes de No More Radio.
You're listening to the Dirty Feet podcast on the No More Radio Network.
Nous sommes vos animateurs,
Et animatrices.
We are your hosts, Allison Burns.
JD Papillon.
Et Stéphanie Morin-Robert.
Listen in.
Écoutez.
We're gonna move you.
Bear with me for this episode. Our recording equipment is currently in Edmonton, Alberta, with Stephanie as she continues her coverage of fringe festivals for the 2015 summer. I am currently in Montreal with some makeshift equipment, and I'm actually recording an interview today with an Edmonton artist. So as you're in our city, our equipment's in your city, and we'll just have to make do. Hello, Ainsley.
Hello.
Thank you for being here. I'm going to be speaking with Ainsley Hillyard, who is one of the good women from the Good Women Dance Collective, who are based in Edmonton, Alberta. And you were one of the 5 founding members of this organization when you put it together in 2009, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Can you tell me what initiated the formation of this group?
Yeah, well, the 5 women that started Good Women, we all went to post-secondary education schooling together at Grant MacEwan University. Well, now it's a university. Back then it was just a college. So we, somewhat naively were saying when we graduate we'll make a dance company and it'll be amazing. And Grant MacEwan was just a 2-year diploma program, so we all went our separate ways to finish our degrees. Some of us went to Calgary, some of us went to Vancouver. Myself, I went to Winnipeg. And then upon returning back from our degree completion, all came back to Edmonton and realized that the dream was still alive and well in us. So we started thinking logistically about how we could make that happen.
Excellent. And so what are other than the 5 of you being encouraged to create work and work together, what makes Good Women Dance Good Women Dance?
Well, I think it's shifted a lot over the years. I think at this point now, Good Women, we want to be creation based. So a lot of the time, the company is setting work on the company. It's collective based. So we, even if we have an artistic leader on something, it's always collaborative with the other members. But now we're kind of branching out more into commissions and trying to travel a bit more with our work. But Good Women really, at the foundation, just wants to maintain a really high standard of professionalism and great art making in Edmonton, where the community is a bit smaller, and providing opportunities for Edmonton artists that are emerging. I think that's like the core of Good Women, is supporting the artistic community as a whole.
We did have the pleasure of visiting Edmonton last summer and kind of getting the lay of the land with a few of the companies there, and speaking with the crew behind the I Don't Get It podcast as well. Yeah. Can you give us your perspective on kind of the Edmonton dance scene?
Yeah, I think it is on the cusp of not reinventing itself, but kind of expanding and growing. After Grant MacEwan shut down in 2004, I think the city kind of took a hit, because there wasn't a place for young artists to train. So a lot of people left Edmonton and not a lot of people came back. But at this point in the last couple of years, I think more young people are coming back to the city. They see that there is potential to make a life for yourself in Edmonton. And the great thing about Edmonton and the Edmonton dance scene is that there is a lot of space to grow your work and to grow yourself as an artist, but it's very entrepreneurial. Like, you have to make your own company, you have to make your own work, you have to really take that initiative and be a business person and a marketing person as well as an artist and a dancer. There's not a huge amount of opportunity to just be hired as a dancer for projects. It really is about making your own work, making work for yourself.
At the same time, you were mentioning that there is support from the city. There is funding available for artists in Edmonton, yeah?
Yeah, I think comparatively to Calgary, which at this point, as far as I know, doesn't have municipal funding, Edmonton, there's a few different funding structures at a civil level that you can apply to as an individual artist, as well as a company or a collective or an organization. And I think that's really helpful, especially for smaller, more independent artists that don't necessarily have the backing of an institution to be able to apply for those individual project grants or smaller kind of one-off situations.
And you mentioned Good Women also having a role in supporting emerging dance in Edmonton. And in what way are you supporting artists that aren't necessarily a member of the company?
Yeah, well, we do a few things. We have an annual work in process showing called What's Cooking, and it's very casual. We always have it catered by some restaurant in Edmonton. So there's food, and people will show their works in process, and then after each piece there's a dialogue between the audience and the artist, so they can both ask each other questions and talk about what they saw. We also we do a lot of mentorship at Victoria School for the Arts, which is a big art school in Edmonton, for their choreographic showcase Leaps and Bounds each year. We're also curating the dance portion of Next Fest. And Next Fest is an interdisciplinary arts festival for artists under 30. So in curating that, everyone that we bring on board from inside of Edmonton and outside of Edmonton, we offer mentorship or outside eye and any support that we can, along with the performance opportunity, which is pretty awesome because it's a 10-day festival and a lot of dance shows only get 1 or 2 performances where we can give them 3 or 4 at least. So and then we also present someone alongside of us at our main stage show, Convergence, every year. So those are kind of the 3 main performance opportunities that we have for artists, emerging artists living and working in the zone, and as well as our classes and our workshop series, which we partner with Brian Webb. Everyone that he brings into Edmonton, we have master classes with, or if people are traveling through Edmonton on their way to a gig in Vancouver or Montreal the other way, they can always stop in, and we're happy to put them up for a workshop or masterclass series, which is another great opportunity for us to just not be so isolated and keep our ear to the ground and be getting new information from new artists that aren't just us. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that, along with the fact that you've been doing more traveling lately, and which is actually the reason that you're here in Montreal now, which is an exciting project that I would love to talk about if we may.
Yeah.
The fact that you've commissioned Melanie Demers to choreograph on the troupe.
Yeah. So we there's a group in Calgary called the Calgary Contemporary Dance Collective, I believe, and they their primary mission is to host workshops. So like we do as people are passing through. So Helen Husak was our big contact for that, and we had talked about how we could maybe actually bring someone in from Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, somewhere a bit more expensive if we partnered and shared all of the costs, because Edmonton and Calgary aren't that far away from each other. So we decided on Melanie almost immediately, and she came in January 2013, I believe, and did a 3-day workshop, and then Good Women also asked her to do like a mini, just kind of flirtatious creative process, like only 4 days long, just to see how things went and if she liked us and if we liked her, and it went really well. So then from there we started talking about doing a commission and applying for funding and logistics and everything. It a year and a half later is coming to fruition. So yeah.
So Melanie works with a lot of prop play and a lot of theatrical elements, and seemingly disconnected scenarios that tend to actually have a really strong through line when you put your mind to it. How close is this to the general aesthetic of Good Women Dance? Is this a far cry from what you usually do, or is this something within your wheelhouse?
Yeah, I think it's both. I think one of my favorite things about Good Women is because it is a collective. There are 4 of us that are artists, so the 4 of us, although a collective, do have different aesthetics when we're working choreographically. So for me, personally, what Melanie does is very, very close to what I would like to be doing, and what I am trying to kind of get at in my own work. I've, in the past couple of years, started working in theater more, so having theatrical elements, including props, more dramatic kind of scenarios, and playing with text is something that I'm working with a lot. So for me, this process is really exciting and feels very comfortable, whereas some of the other Good Women don't really work with text or have more of a different aesthetic to their movement that isn't as wild. So it's a nice opportunity for them to push themselves as well, to be in that process. So yeah, it is and it isn't for us. But it's nice to be able to have, 3 or 4 different aesthetics in a group, because you're never really bored with working for Good Women. Yeah.
Having had requested other commissions on the group before, how does entering another artist's choreographic process change how you choreograph yourself?
That's a really good question. Yeah, obviously, just like the most obvious is that you learn new tricks and you learn new techniques. And I think you're able to, in your own work, take back from it and see it through the choreographer's eyes. Like now in the future when I'm working, I can kind of put on Melanie's lens and view it how she might be viewing it as we're working, just from seeing how she puts her lens on and views the work when we're creating it right now. So I think it definitely influences things, and you learn a lot more about what you actually want to be doing in your own work. Just seeing how somebody else works and how they manipulate choreography or tasks. It really speaks to that's what I want to do, or that's not what I want to do at all. I think it becomes really clear having someone external come in and work with the group. Yeah, if that makes any sense.
When you feel like there's something successful or unsuccessful happening, and then deciding if you want to take that approach yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So having someone from the outside, and then you thinking about that scenario, I would never do that, or I'm going to do that all the time. Mm-hmm. Just learning from example, basically. Yeah.
A lot in contemporary creation, there is a lot of input requested and appreciated by the choreographer from the dancers. Mm-hmm. A lot of collaboration often, which sometimes may develop a conflict if the dancers you're using are also choreographers, and that it ends up being a lot of strong personalities in the room. Mm. Is this something you've encountered?
It's something that Good Women has talked about, because we do work collectively. So that's our usual jam is we're sourcing off of each other, and whoever is kind of taking the lead as the choreographer is using material and content that is generated by the dancers. So it's always a fine line. But for us, at least as the collective, we always just make sure that we're accrediting that in our programs and in our work when we talk about it. Like the last piece that we choreographed, Caveat, I was the lead choreographer, but I didn't do any of the dancing. Like they did all of the dancing, and I just structured it, and they imagined and created all of the text. And so really I was just a manipulator. I wasn't a choreographer, or I was a shell shifter, you know, those shell games where you just kind of place things around. But yeah, I can see how that would definitely be worrisome for some people. I think there's a lot of trust in that relationship between choreographer and interpreter, especially when the interpreter is a choreographer themselves. And I mean, you yourself as an artist can always make that choice. Like, do I give this, or do I save it for myself? Yeah, which is an interesting question to ask yourself in any process. I think it has a lot to do with the content and the person that you're working for and with. Yeah, how far you go.
The fact that the four current members of Good Women Dance do have different aesthetics, as you've expressed, and also have studied at a variety of places. Is there an overall signature that you would be able to identify for the company?
Yeah, definitely. I'm not sure that I can describe what it is or even put my finger on it, but within the Edmonton dance community, people say it's very apparent. Like they will comment on a piece that I've made and a piece that Alita has made, and say how distinctly both of those are such good women pieces. I think it's a matter that because we train together 3 times a week, like we have our company classes, and so we're dancing together all the time. So even if we have different aesthetics conceptually or different approaches to process, I think physically we really do have a similar qualitative personality, is the best way to say it. But because the four of us are so in it all the time, we think that we're completely different from one another. Like we move differently, we have completely different bodies, we have completely different aesthetics or interests artistically. But that's just because we're together all the time. So from an outside perspective, we do hear a lot that we seem very unified as a group. And when we travel places like Montreal or Toronto, and we take a class, the teachers will sometimes comment how it looks like we are a company when we dance together in class even, which is great. It's awesome and surprising, like for me on the inside, being like, oh, well, I dance so different than Allison does, but in the grand scape of things, I think we do have a really strong identity, because it's been 6 years of us being a group, and that's a long time to dance with other people without kind of nebulousing together in a good way. Yeah.
Can you just give us the names of the other members of the group?
Yes, so there's Allison Cause, Alita Nyquist-Schultz, and Kate Stashko.
Great. And you have a guest who's joining you for this project here in Montreal as well.
Yeah, Richard Lee is an amazing performer from Edmonton who Good Women has worked with, I think 3 or 4 times in the past. So he's along for the ride as well. Yeah, it's great.
Great. And then, unfortunately, we're not going to see this in Montreal right away, but you do have some performances coming up. Do you want to just let us know about the near future?
Yes, definitely. So we'll be premiering this work at Convergence, which is our big annual showcase, November 26th to 28th in Edmonton. And we definitely would love for this piece to have a longer life than that. So, yeah, keeps posted to our website, and hopefully we'll be touring it somewhere, somehow.
And is that simply goodwomen.com?
Goodwomen.ca, yeah.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
The Dirty Feet podcast is produced and hosted by
Produit et animé par
Allison Burns,
JD Papillon,
et Stéphanie Morin-Robert.
We have Mainline Theatre, Montreal Improv Theatre, and Paul Aflalo to thank.
Merci pour le soutien.
Vous pouvez visiter notre site web, écouter les derniers épisodes, lire notre blog, nous aimer sur Facebook et nous suivre sur Twitter.
You can visit our website, listen to past episodes, read our blog, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter.
Show us some love and help us spread the word.
Montrez-nous un peu d'amour et aidez-nous à passer le mot.